Hello and welcome to another episode of Women in Sport. I'm Rhian Evans. Thanks very much for listening in. And this week we're looking at women's basketball on the Isle of Man. And I'm delighted to be joined by two of the Island ladies basketball team who have recently represented the Isle of Man in Gibraltar at the Island Games. And I'll let them introduce themselves to you.
So I'm Lauren Ellison, and in basketball I tend to play in the post position, but I've been known to play pretty much everywhere around. But if someone asks me to dribble the ball up the court, I will probably laugh in their face.
I'm Holly Hennessey, and I normally play shooter, but I can run down the court with the ball if I need to. I don't ever want to.
Perfect. So let's start with your backstories. So, Lauren, if we start with you, how long have you been playing basketball for, and what was it that made you want to start playing in the first place?
Okay, so if I think back, the reason I started playing basketball is because of my mum. So she played from school age, helping out with the boys at school. She was reffing, tabling with Graham Bassett at St Ninians. I think everyone in basketball must know Graham Bassett. Everyone's been coached by him at some point. And she went through that process. So it was my mum that was playing, and I always went along with her to training growing up. And I'd go to their training, started joining in, dipped out a little bit as I was growing up, as I was trying lots of different sports. But it was when I got to secondary school, and then I met Becky and Amber and Jessie, and we were all the same year at St Ninians, and they were going on Saturday mornings into extra stuff, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go, I'll get back into it. And it was when we were maybe 12 or 13, my mum and her friend Annie and Becky's dad Pete, who's now our current coach, they were all like, let's get the girls involved, let's get something sorted. And it was between us four and also Sarah Kerford, who was at Ballacameen at the time, so different schools. But we, at the age of 12, 13, were allowed to enter in the Women's League because there was nothing really for juniors, nothing for girls. So we were allowed to enter in the Junior League as well. They actually put a junior boys team in the Women's League that year. I remember them, I think Gender Benders they were called, playing in that league. And we all played, and so growing up, like, we were losing by double figures at this point, but we kept playing, played together. So bear in mind, we all went through sixth form, so going through 5-6 years, and then so properly I'd say for about 15 years I've been playing, but all thanks to my mum. Big up Marie.
And do you still love it just as much as you did when you first started?
I do, actually. I had a bit of a phase. So I went at uni, I was playing to quite a high level, and then I came back and I got a bit frustrated when I came back, and I had a proper, I hate this because the reffing wasn't to the standard I was used to. There was different things, like the training wasn't what I'd experienced for 3 years. But now I love it just as much because, like, it's mostly it's a lot of the people. Like, there's some of my best friends that I play with. We go and we have such a nice time. There's no horribleness. Everyone's so welcoming that you just have lots of fun and just take the mick out of each other. It's quite fun to go and do that for a couple of hours a week.
Just quickly before I come to you, Holly, in terms of reffing, do you get a lot of women referees in the basketball scene on the island?
Well, as we're the only team at the moment coming through, all the women referees come from our team. So we're reffing and playing.
Juggling a lot of plates there. Or spinning a lot of plates.
Between us, we're reffing, we're tabling, we're organising, we're helping with the juniors. So in terms of the girls' side, we're doing quite a lot of it. There's a few girls on our team that are more confident and some of us are qualified in both the reffing and tabling side. But yeah, it is us, and some of the ex-players that have also used to play, they more recently have stopped, but they were reffing as well.
And Holly, you're now on the Isle of Man basketball team. Yeah. How long have you been playing for?
Only 2 years.
Sorry, I didn't put your mic up then. That's very unprofessional of me. Holly, you are now playing on the Isle of Man basketball team. How long have you been playing for?
Only 2 years.
2 years. And what was it that made you start playing in the first place?
So I was in a group of friends, and for fun, they all played basketball, and they'd go to an outdoor court called Kensington. And they'd all play there, and I'd go along just because all my friends were there, and then maybe shoot or something just as a joke. And then they would always say to me, come down on a Saturday morning. And I was like, no way. And then eventually I just decided to go because I was like, why not? And then I started playing on a Saturday morning, and then Becky was telling me to come on a Sunday, and I was like, no way. And then eventually I went on a Sunday and I ended up here.
You've done pretty well for yourself then, from like that pattern of no.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Because you recently went to Gibraltar with Lauren for the Island Games, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking before, and what school are you at? Are you at
St. Ninians.
And is there a girls' basketball team at St. Ninians at the moment?
No, but we can play on the boys' basketball team. Personally, I haven't yet because I'm too scared. But this year, I'm going to play for them. But we more play, it's not really included. We play netball, hockey, rounders. We don't ever get told we're going to play basketball. We play it once a year in games. But there's not actually a team that they encourage us to join.
That's where we were lucky, because there was the 4 of us in the 1 year group, so we were quite persistent and we would fight and get to it. So I'm really glad that it's still something that's happening to let the girls play on the boys team.
And that does seem to be the main way of getting more girls into playing basketball. And like we said, there's only one female basketball team on the island, and we've talked about how that comes down to grassroots development. And if basketball isn't really an option in school for girls, then that's your main area to channel girls into, or at least get them to consider playing. So I can understand that would be quite difficult.
I feel like the teachers encourage the boys to join the team, and they tell them to join the team. And personally, I've never been asked if I wanted to play in the team, and they've never actually asked anyone else. I feel like if a girl wants to play in the team, they have to go themselves, and they have to prove themselves rather than being asked to play. So,
is that something you would ever bring up with your teachers?
Yeah, I mean, I have the other day. I said,
yes, Holly.
I said I went to the Island Games the other day, so
yeah, nice.
You might not being asked to be on the team.
Love that. Back yourself.
Yeah, good. Quite right.
Yeah.
What did they say?
They said come along if you want, and then I got asked to come, so I'm gonna go.
Good. What is it that makes you feel scared about playing with the boys?
The boys are more rough, obviously, and they're a lot taller than me. I'm only 5'2.5". But it's kind of hard when you're going in for rebounds and they're all towering over you, and you just have to be strong, which is something that I'm not really used to, playing really competitive matches with the boys in my year. It's normally for fun, so I think it'll be hard, but I'm just going to have to persevere.
Well, Lauren, you know all about playing basketball with the boys, because obviously you train with them, considering you have no one else to train against. And you and Becky have spoken. I can completely understand, if I was in your position at school, I would have been very intimidated by playing with the boys. But I think further down the line, you can appreciate it.
I think it can only make you better, to be honest. When you say about that physicality, we this year, as we are the only team, and for the previous year, we've played in the men's league, which is a bit daunting for newcomers. I think Holly was one when it was like, oh no, can't do that. But when you think back on how we did at the Island Games, and then when you go to playing against women, it just is such a difference. We were more physical, we could jump higher. When I think of some of the men in our league that are like giants, we were them jumping and boxing out against girls that it was easy, it became a doddle. So as daunting and as horrible as it is, once you get confident to have a go, I think it only improves your skills and your confidence.
And also I totally agree with it making you sort of toughen up and jump higher and run faster and whatnot. But also it makes you think better and think about what tactics you can use if someone is like towering over you on a netball court. I think, okay, what do I have to do? I can't jump as high as that person, so can I use my speed instead? And it just makes your brain gets the cogs working.
It's making it a different game really for you, and it's not being, you can't play that consistent, oh, let's just throw a ball over, let's just get it over their heads. You have to think, right, do I do a bounce pass? Where do I dodge? Where do you go? And it just changes the game.
Makes it interesting. I don't know if you'll know this, but when you were talking about joining when you were 12, do you know when the first women's basketball team was actually formed on the island?
Pass.
That's
I know a little bit about what they were. So I know there was 2 leagues at one point, and it was like booming. There was lots going on. I know they were down there. They started at Summerland. I know a lot of ex-players or retired players. They would say that their knee injuries and their ankle injuries come from playing on the concrete at the Summerland floor. There was lots of stuff at Mount Murray going on as well, and so there have been 2 leagues at one point going. There may have even been more, I'm not sure, but I definitely remember Mum saying about there being 2 leagues and lots going on, and there was a bit more of the social side, particularly maybe when it was at Summerland, when there was the bar area that they could go to, which I think is always going to attract a few more players to stay a little bit. But yeah, I couldn't tell you an exact date on it.
Where do you think, it does sound like it was, like you say, booming back in the day. Where do you think that stopped?
I'm not sure. Probably wasn't
because it just feels like a bit of a mystery, and I just think it's a massive shame, you know. And I think people like you and Becky, who are teachers, you're the prime people that are working towards building it back up.
It just feels, I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't tell you who, what, where, but somewhere down the line there's been a gap missed, and something hasn't happened. So when I mentioned Graham Bassett earlier, he was that person in schools that I think of when I was there. I know people before me that have said Graham Bassett, he was that person coaching. And don't get me wrong, there's a whole host of other people, but there were people there doing it, and then somewhere where people have phased out, there just hasn't been that input. Now people like, I know you mentioned myself and Becky, but people like Peter Dunn, there's Brenda, there's Trudy Krell, and there's people all around the island that are trying to get that youth section back up, and we're getting other coaches, but it's taken a while to get to that point. So hopefully we can get it back to where it was.
You recently had an open day, which is brilliant. How did that go?
It's good.
Yeah, loads. I did not expect that many people to turn up.
Good.
Neither did I. I think maybe we had about 20 extra bodies.
Yeah,
so
that's a really good turnout.
Surprisingly, a lot of them came from like netball and other sports as well. So it seems like they kind of tie in. And a lot of my friend who plays netball, she wants to join basketball now. She says it seems really interesting. She's really good at netball, so I think she's going to come to the next one.
Yeah, it was. We're looking to hold another one next Sunday, 22nd of September. Watch your space. But we're looking to do that again, and hopefully they said, "Oh, we'll bring friends." So it's just getting that more and more people, word of mouth there.
Yeah, good, brilliant. Let's talk about. Oh, actually, firstly, when does the basketball season run to and from?
October. It starts.
It finishes about May, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe April time, April, May. It just depends how long. So as we do play in the men's league at the moment, unfortunately for us, we don't maybe progress so far, like to the finals. It's not something we ever, I mean, maybe this is the year, but they start doing like playoff systems. So we're usually, but April, May. Yeah, it's definitely. But if we are to continue these taster sessions, maybe it's something that could be in the pipeline is us continuing and doing our own little mini leagues and different things going on, which could be continuous.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the reputation of women's basketball. I don't know if there is one, but we were talking before, and this is sort of like a fun thing. So in school, the girls who played netball were regarded as kind of like the popular girls, which I never was, with like a friggin' unibrow and whatnot and braces. But does women's basketball, does it have a reputation or a stereotype that is annoying or
I feel
likable?
I feel like the girls who play netball, not all of them obviously, and when I
as 3 netball players here, we can
and when I had never played basketball before, it was just something I didn't really think looked very enjoyable, and obviously I played and I enjoyed it, but I just thought running with the ball and shooting really far out just did not look appealing at all. So I feel like it is a bit looked down on, but I don't really know why.
I think the physical, when you look at it, it is physical. Like there is the pushing, there is the shoving, but you see that, you've seen it more and more in netball, like the pushing, you need that physicality. And I think that as soon as that awareness that actually it doesn't have to be that thing, like it's contact avoidance, you don't want to run into people, you've got to try and get away from it. But I think that's more the thing, like how physical it can be. And
people call it a contact sport, but I don't really feel that different when I play netball and basketball. It's not like rugby where
rugby's fine, we'll talk about that another day.
But it just doesn't feel like people are running into you and pushing you over like you think a contact sport would be.
Now, we mentioned this before, and it's just an open conversation, so we don't need like facts or figures or anything. But I was asking what's happening in the world of basketball elsewhere, and both of you were kind of a bit like, you watch some clips on Instagram, but you don't know much about it. And I guess that is a prime example of the lack of coverage that women's basketball currently gets.
Yeah, I would say hugely. Like I said, I watched little bits on Instagram just out of interest and just to say, oh, maybe might have a go of that, probably in my dreams. But it's not something I massively follow, but you say it's the coverage, it's finding where to go from it. When I went to uni in Nottingham, so I follow bits of the Nottingham Wildcats and stuff going on there, just because I know some of the people, not because of any other rhyme or reason. So for me, not entirely sure. Becky Dunn's your girl to do that one. How about you, Holly?
I've never really seen it while I've been living on the Isle of Man on my TV or anything. It's not something that Sky Sports would put on your screen and say, watch this, it's coming up. I watched the men's finals for the NBA, but I never actually saw anything about the women's finals at all advertised anywhere. And the men's final was like a big deal, but the women's final just really wasn't.
Even when I think about the men's basketball, like I've seen more of it, but I think that's a lot down to Ovi from Love Island. I've seen more and more and people talking about it a little bit more, but I think that's down to him. So I think he's done them a favour by
yeah.
What was uni basketball like? Was there a lot of girls that played it? Was it pretty popular?
Yeah, so I went where I was playing, we were playing Premiership basketball, so there was a lot of girls coming to the uni because of basketball. So and we had good links with Wildcats in Nottingham, and we'd be up and down the country doing lots of things. It was it was the trial, you had to work to get into it. The coach's daughter played for England, there was all these different things, and it was just, you had your strength and conditioning, you had your video analysis when you got through the process. Our coaches for days going up and down the country and it was just, the standard was amazing. The refereeing was just another level, which I said earlier, I had a bit of a whinge when I came home because I was like, oh, what am I doing? And Mum was just like, get out of your own head. Just get over it.
Adapted to such a high standard.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
So coming back, but it is another level in certain parts. So yeah, I was quite lucky with the uni I went to, and it was one of the reasons I went, but it wasn't the main reason, but it really looked out for me where I was going. So no, I really, really enjoyed it. I know Becky would say the same thing. She won Bucks finals when she was over there, and it is just, yeah, coming back was a bit of an eye-opener, especially because it had taken a bit of a dip from when we'd left, when we were doing really well, playing all as a team and things where there was a team, there was a league. Then it seemed maybe that when we left a little bit, the teams dropped out, there wasn't the competition. So, not saying it was us, if anyone, but just as I came home, I was just like, oh, this is rubbish, I'm not playing anymore. I think, I don't know if Tracy Dentith, when she went away, she came back and had the exact same paddy, so it was quite good to have a little chat with her and be like, it's fine. So it is a different change. I don't know if the men feel the same way when they come back from uni, but for girls, I definitely felt that way.
It's a massively understandable frustration because you're coming back to no women's league, nothing, so I completely understand that. How did you find that you held up against girls in England when you went, who obviously have a lot more exposure and more people to practice against?
You could definitely see the difference in them coming through the ranks. So they'd played on under 13s, under 15s. The girls on my team had played to such a high level, I almost felt like, why am I here? You started to feel a bit inadequate, and first few games I was like, oh, I can't, I can't maintain this. But the more I got into it, it was really good, and I felt how much I came on. And then I think it was my first varsity. That was just the most amazing experience. And just playing, we ended up playing in the what's the ice arena in Nottingham? I can't even think what it's called. The big arena in Nottingham. Anyway, they turned that into a big stadium. We played in there, and we had, it was just, you felt like professionals, and it was so good.
Is there, the netball has Super League? Does basketball have anything like that, do you know? Apart from the England basketball squad?
Good question. Like I say, it goes back to
again,
coverage, knowledge.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean,
there are things in place. I know that, but I couldn't tell you what they're called. I couldn't tell you any information about it because we just don't have, especially from now on, we don't have them links, those connections. There was the stuff we're trying to set up where we can even just go away and play games against teams, and that's seeming hard enough to fit in with what they're doing and what. So yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I just think it's a massive eye-opener. I mean, I didn't start watching netball matches until a couple of years ago, probably around the time when you started basketball, Holly. But before then, I just didn't. It was Ashley Hall really that sort of introduced me to the other things, and since then, obviously, netball's had a lot of coverage, and just think it's a shame basketball needs to happen for all women's sports, and continue to grow.
It seems like it's almost, when I listen to Peter Dunn, our coach, he tells me he's watched something, or Becky says, oh, Dad saw this online, and it's knowing where to go and find it, and I don't know where to go and find it, and it's not.
It's definitely.
It
not
shouldn't be
easy
that much of an
access.
effort.
Well, yeah, exactly. Let's come back to you two as Island basketballers. When is the most nervous you've ever been before a game?
Okay. Definitely the first game at the Island Games. I know it's typical, but we actually played Guernsey, and I used to live in Guernsey, so it was a big deal to beat them for me because I really, really wanted to win. And my parents and my brother also came to watch me, so it's the first game they've really watched me play, so I really wanted to play
pressure
well.
Was
I've never seen you so quiet. Like, it was weird.
So nervous. I'd never actually played in front of a big, it was a big crowd. And with people like cheering and booing and everything like that.
Oh yes, I remember Gibraltar.
Yeah.
There was lots of booing.
Yeah.
It's like a pantomime.
Yeah, like I was really nervous when we played Gibraltar as well, because we'd seen their home crowd before. We'd watched them play other teams, and we were like,
you could almost hardly hear the whistle over it on the other court, like they were that loud.
I remember we were working out, we were like, we're playing Gibraltar. We were like looking at who we're playing next and who they're playing next, and we were like, we're going to have to face them. So I was just really nervous at the Island Games, to be fair.
Understandably.
Every game.
Yeah, that's like a lot. That's not just one thing of like, oh, my parents coming to watch. That's a whole load of firsts. So
yeah.
How did you cope with your nerves? You know, lots of people. Some people are sick before a game. Some people go to sleep and have a nap. Well, what did you do?
I just kind of blanked out everyone behind me, even my family. And I was just imagining that we were in the NSC and we're just doing our normal warm-up and everything's normal still. And I'm just going to go play a basketball game, and that's all.
Your dad was the worst, wasn't he? He couldn't stay in the room.
He walked out the arena because he couldn't watch. Like,
he was so nervous.
Yeah, it wasn't even that close as well. There was like 20 points in it and he couldn't even watch.
I can't handle this, I must leave.
It's just like me. I get really nervous, but I didn't expect him to walk out.
Did you win that game?
Yeah,
we did.
Nice.
And we haven't beat them for a while. And we didn't have the best run-in with them at the last games. There was a bit of an altercation. So it was very satisfying. Well, we love a good chant when we go to the Island Games. We're quite known for it. And so, as they're not the most pleasant, we get on really well with Menorca. Like, they're such a nice team and their coach is really good. And it's always a nice game. They always thrash us because they are phenomenal. But it's such a nice game. So Guernsey were playing Menorca and we were cheering for Menorca. And then there was some different things anyway. And then one of the coaches walked into the change room, didn't realise our coach was behind him, and was saying something along the lines of, if only their playing was as good as their chanting, or something like that. And so our coach had a few words with him. So it was quite nice to inform them that our playing was as good as our chanting this year.
And Lauren, what about you? When's the most nervous you've ever been?
If I'm honest, I'm not a very nervy person. I feel like I can control it quite well.
You do always seem calm. Like on the netball court, I never really see you looking anxious before a game.
No, I'm not. Like, a few times, people have had a few things where I'm trying to get, like, I'm not saying they're trying to get my head, but there's a few things. I'm like, it doesn't faze me. If I think about the most nervous though, like, quite often I'll take the jump ball, and it's that moment just before I touch the ball, or don't touch the ball if they're taller than me. But that moment where it's that do or die. It's similar in rugby as well. I take the kickoffs, and it's just before I kick the ball. That it's just that moment. And as soon as that's gone, or I've touched the ball, or something's happened, it's over, and I'm quite like, that's fine. It's usually just the first touch or the first something, and then once that's happened, I'm like, actually, it's not scary. It's the same thing I do every single week, and I can do that. But yeah, so I do think I'm quite a calm. I get why people get nervous. I get the stress kind of thing, but for me, it's easier just to be chill and to focus on what I need to do.
Do either of you have pre-game routines? So, you know, some people will listen to music. I personally will listen to music before a game and not really speak to anyone, and other people get really, really chatty, and I'm just like, oh my God, you need to shut up. But do either of you two have a specific thing? So Holly, you sounded like you went quite quiet, but was that just the one-off?
Yeah, that was nerves. Normally I just do my kind of own warm-up and try to look a bit intimidating by doing it.
You're so scary.
But I just try to not make them think that I am a good player when they look at me just warming up. Well,
just imagining you doing like a basketball hacker, like, so it's
I love that.
We should do that.
like banging your chest. Lauren, what about you?
I don't know really. I think I'm quite quiet, but I feel like I talk if I need to talk. I'm not gonna go around shouting and saying what needs to be done. I'll just join. I just do what's needed. I'll join in, do what I have to. Usually, like if we're doing our warm up, we run like to the halfway line and back. When I'm doing that bit, I like to go on the end. So maybe that is a little bit of a ritual. I like to find myself on the end, and then always have a few jelly tots. Always got jelly tots in my kit bag.
Let's talk about on-court rage. So we've seen, I've seen in the Netball League the slamming down of balls, when someone's been called for contact or something, and there's always, the dead-eyed stare at the umpire or the ref. Have either of you ever had a moment of rage on court?
I wouldn't say rage, a lot of annoyance when I first came back home from uni. But no, at this year's Island Games, I personally believe falsely given 2 unsportsmanlike fouls, which meant I got ejected from the arena.
What? So you were like escorted out?
I literally got pointed at the door and got told to leave.
Oh my God, what did you do?
So one of them, I might agree, was one. So you're allowed to get one, and that counts as like 2 fouls, if I've got the rules wrong, my bad. But so I got one, and I know I did that because I was stopping her from scoring. But the second one, anyway, it got called. So I don't think I did. But anyway, so I got my second unsportsmanlike. I knew I was giving her a foul, but I thought I was just giving a normal foul. I was like, I've got one more, I can use that, and then no more. Anyway, so they called it as an unsportsman, and I was like, all right, okay. And then he literally walked up to me. I went over towards our coach, and he'd said something about if you get unsportsmanlike or you get ejected, you don't play in the next game. So our next game was for the bronze medal match at this point. And I was like, oh my God, I've done it. Like, I'm ejected, I'm out. By the time I'd realised what was going on, I was like, I'm ejected, I can't play. And I had a little paddy, I did. I stormed out. I wouldn't say stormed actually. I walked out, and then the boys were all there and they were cheering and like chanting. They all stood up, so that made me, I think, a bit more emotional. And then I was like, oh, they're there. Took myself away around the corner, took my shoes off, threw them at the wall, and that was as far as my rage went. Then I got like upset, thinking I couldn't play, because that was it. I just thought I'd let the team down. Yeah, I could, good. But I just mostly thought I've let the team down because that game didn't really matter as much, because it was against Menorca, who I said always beat us, and I was like, we held them quite well actually, but I thought, this game, if we lose, it's fine. We know, like, we kind of knew what we were working towards, and I just thought I've let the whole team down because I'm not going to be able to play tomorrow, and I got annoyed with myself. So I think that's my biggest rage. But yeah, throwing my shoes. Thankfully, I was on my own. No one saw me, and I was like, people came around. They're like, "You need to cover the team photo," and I was like, "I don't want to." So I did. Yeah, I didn't get in that one, but okay. I'd say that's my biggest.
Holly, any moments where you've like popped a basketball when you saw red?
I've got angry, but I don't think I've ever lashed out yet. I definitely think I will in the future.
You are quite angry. You do get an angry head on you.
Yeah, definitely. It's more when I know I'm not playing well myself, I get really angry, and then I just want to play better, but I can't. So I definitely think that's to come.
I think I totally understand getting angry at yourself. I remember being at uni on the netball teams, and sometimes you'd see other teams where they'd be shouting at their own team, like teams we played against, where they were just horrible to each other. And I just think, why are you playing a team sport? Like, go play tennis or something. If you're not going to be nice to your team, then I understand people get frustrated, but I never really agreed with that.
No, it just amazes me sometimes when I see people getting angry with their own team, their own players, or gossiping, whinging about them. It's just not on. Not okay.
It sounds like the boys are really, really supportive we're really supportive of you in the Island Games. How do they view the women's basketball team and the lack of participants? What are their thoughts on that?
I don't know about the lack of participant side, but in terms of support, they are really good for us. Like, obviously, they didn't necessarily have to agree. They didn't about us playing in the men's league. It is like totally different playing men against women. They do. I'm not saying they have to change their game, but maybe they do think about it a little bit more. Not all of them, but some of them might think about it a little bit more. Some do still keep it quite physical, but like the support is definitely there, and it is improving. I think our relationships are improving a little bit more. Like, we're getting to spend a bit more time with them, getting to know them a little bit more. We're training together a little bit more, so it is definitely improving.
Was there a stigma at the start? I mean, I know we've touched on it before in high school, where boys will be like, oh, I don't want to play with the girls because they're not going to be very good.
Well, I definitely, just in general, like when I play at Kensington, like I said before, I feel like I never really, like, people are never really like, oh, Holly, come on my team, do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, I'm actually not that bad, you know? And yeah, I feel
having
like
to fight to prove yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like people just automatically assume there's like that preconception that I'm just not as good, and they just, I don't know.
You hear that sometimes when we play in the men's league. They go up to Pete, our coach, and say, "What, like, do you want us to go soft on defense?
Yeah.
Like, do you want us to go easy?" And we're like, no, like, we want to play as if we were playing. Like,
Yeah.
go hard. If we lose, we lose. We'll take it.
And is that still happening now?
I don't know. Cannot confirm or deny.
Yeah.
Potentially, but if it is, Pete keeps it quite well hidden.
It's just really annoying.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
It takes you back to when you were at school, like you say, and the boys think, "Oh, well, you just stand there. We won't pass you. You can be on our team, but we won't."
Yeah.
I remember being pleasantly surprised though when, what's the basketball camp?
NBC.
I did NBC one year, and there was like a handful of girls playing, and I absolutely loved that camp because the guys didn't treat you like that at all. They fully respected you, and it was brilliant, and it was so good for your confidence, and it really like spurs you on to not to play better than you can play, but you know, as soon as you've got that extra bit of confidence, you do perform better. And I just think that's how it should be all the time. I mean, I know if guys played more netball over here, I wouldn't be like sneering at them. You'd want to be encouraging them.
It is refreshing when you do get that. Like speaking from rugby, we quite often, the boys will come up and train against us, and because we're both doing our same plays, we want to practice them. Now, we won't tackle each other, but we're playing opposite each other, and we'll give them feedback, they'll give us feedback, and everyone respects each other. And we do that at basketball. It is coming in a little bit more, but there are obviously still the old heads maybe that don't think we should be there, but the newer people coming through, and some of it is nice that they are more willing and accepting.
Good. What's been your favourite moment of playing basketball so far?
Wow.
Meeting me, yeah.
Well, that's put me on the spot. Well, it's just gonna have to be something in the Island Games, definitely. Probably the Gibraltar match. I feel like I really gained a lot of confidence then, and I kind of came back after that match feeling like I was actually a real basketballer for the first time, and that it clicked and I'd actually got the game. And normally I'm a bit scared to shoot because I don't want to miss, don't want to get blocked and stuff like that, especially against the men because they're all towering over me. But in that game, I just don't know why, but I just gained a lot of confidence, and I came out feeling like I really did play the best I could have. So that was probably
the best you played in that game. You were solid.
Yeah.
That's a good answer, Holly.
Thanks.
Lauren?
I've probably got a few, if I could fit. So when at school, I said we play in the boys team, we won the basketball final against, I think we played against Bala. We won that one when all four of us girls were on the court, and it was just amazing. Like, people didn't think we would. I think a lot of people hadn't seen us play, so just thought, well, what a joke this is. But that was one of the top moments.
Yeah, that'll be us this year.
Yeah.
Up the Saints. Just saying.
Hope so. That'd be so good. Like, if you could then follow it, and hopefully it'd be something.
Yeah.
It could be. We'll have a 10-year gap between. But varsity, when we won I played in 3, but we won one of them. But that was one of the really good moments. It was just everything kind of came together, and it was just such an exciting moment. And then generally, just one of my favourites, just when something clicks. You know, when you've worked on something for so long and it just clicks and you do it in a game and you're just, oh, where's that come from? Those are the moments I kind of live for, that you just feel like, right, everything we've done makes sense. Like, we worked on these under the basket shots for ages and ages and ages, and I was like, why are you making us do this? And one day in a game, someone does it and you're like, right, got it. And they're just when the penny drops kind of moments. Love them.
Do you have any trick shots? Would that be your go-to?
Not personally, but yeah, no, they are. There's Becky Dunn loves one of them. Danielle Murphy's got a little side set, little thing, and a little swish. There's loads of little things that everyone's got their own. But yeah, little trick shots and little fun things that you spend time, even plays or defense things that you spend time working on. When they just click and it happens, it's lovely.
Mic drop moments.
Yeah.
I've just got a few more questions for you. Quite a tricky one. Might not be a tricky one. Do you see coverage of women's basketball? Do you see that improving anytime soon? Because, we've definitely seen it with women's football and we've seen it with netball. I personally haven't seen anything in terms of women's basketball, and I appreciate it could be bigger in the US, a lot bigger there, but in terms of closer to home, I don't see anything happening.
I think British basketball as a whole isn't very publicised, not even just women's basketball.
Yeah.
I never see that at all. I've seen a few British basketball games, but I never actually see a lot of those games advertised, or even on Instagram it's always NBA clips. It's never the British leagues or anything like that.
No, it's not very vocal. You don't, like you say, said before, you have to go searching for it. You have to know where you're looking. You have to be following the right pages or looking where you need to do. It's not something that pops up. NBA, American basketball, they publicise it so much and it's all everywhere. But yeah, it's not something. Hopefully, it's something I'd like to think they jump off the back of the women's football, the netball. They'd be silly if they didn't see what they're doing and get involved. But who knows?
Yeah, hopefully the women's sports that are starting to get more coverage do act as a catalyst for all the other ones as well. What words of wisdom would you give to someone who is considering taking up basketball, be them our age or really young or maybe a bit older? What would your words of wisdom be?
Can I go?
You can go, Holly.
Go for it, Holly.
I'd say you're never going to get anywhere if you always say no. Because
Oh my God, it's like talking to you.
I always said no to playing basketball, and then I ended up going to Gibraltar, and then I ended up on the radio, and then I ended up going to the governor's house
Wait till
the other
these
night.
selfies are coming out. She's like,
But I'm so glad that I actually decided to say yes, and I thought, why not try it? Because there's no harm in trying, really.
It sounds like on a personal level, the game has made you more confident in yourself as well. So it's not even just the sport, it has a domino effect on who you can be as a person.
Yeah, even going away to Gibraltar, I was a bit nervous to go away with people who are 20 and upwards, and I was...
we'll go with that.
And I feel like I just became a lot more confident, because normally I don't really like speaking to people that much when I don't really know them that well. And like, obviously I did know you as well, but there were some people that I didn't really know, and then I just feel like I came out my shell and I got used to being able to talking to people.
Certainly did come out your shell.
I was so rare. I was so embarrassed.
The games they do like badge swapping between the country, between the islands, and this became Holly's thing. As soon as he opened the ceremony, badges, you get badges. She was on a mission, just shouting badges.
We all had to queue to go to the opening ceremony, and I ran across the field in front of everyone.
This is the first moment where we were like, "There's the real Holly."
I ended up. How many did I get? 19 out of 21. I was good.
Oh, that's good going.
Next time.
What were the two that you missed?
Alderney and Sark, which is weird because I used to live in Guernsey and that's right next to them. So they should have been the ones that I went straight for, really. But my parents said, you can send a letter to them if you want and ask them to give us the badge. And I was like, no.
Next time. Gives you reason to go back to another island game.
Keep saying.
Lauren?
I'd just say, what have you got to lose? We are doing our taster sessions over the next couple of months. Like, come and give it a go. There was nothing like, I brought some of my rugby team down, and they're like, it's good fitness. Like, you do run a lot. You can see where it fits in. And if you don't like it, we're not going to make you stay. Like, I know it's not for everybody, but what have you actually got to lose? Either it's fitness, it's something extra, or it's just a one-off Sunday that you can come and have a go, like it, stay, not like it. It was nice to meet you, kind of thing.